Hello and welcome to Happy Cells and Souls. My name is Julie Powers and I'm a licensed Zumba instructor and I'm a business partner with the Juice Plus company. My missions in life are to help people understand that life is better when they're dancing through it and to inspire healthy living around the world. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. We only get one body while we're here on this earth, and so we have to take care of it. And while we're here, we're supposed to bring love, light, and joy into the world. We have to make it a better place, especially now, more than ever, right? And in my life, I have had the honor and privilege of knowing so many different people from all walks of life. And so many of those people have fascinating stories and bring their own joy and love and light into the world. And so I want to bring their stories to you. And so today we're going to learn from Amy Steinmetz. And Amy is a friend of mine that I've already had one conversation with on a Zoom call long ago, but we're going to have a completely different conversation today. And let me just tell you a little bit about Amy, other than she's a wonderful friend and I love her dearly. And I just love her smile and I love seeing her face on Zoom calls every week. I get to talk to her on a regular basis, but she is an award-winning communicator who left corporate America to really focus on community and individual well-being. She really wants to focus on gut and brain health, as well as just emotional well-being and psychological well-being and the overall holistic approach to life. And she is making a huge impact on people as a rest practitioner, a level 3 Reiki practitioner. And what else is it that you can do here? You're also a nutritionist. And so, you got a lot of stuff going on here. But today we're really going to focus on this rest. And when I say that, it's little r and then big R-E-S-T. So Amy, break it down for us. What the heck is rest?
Thanks, Julie. That is so sweet of you. And yes, I do enjoy our time together weekly too. So I feel like, Zoom has brought us together in some ways, and it has also kept us apart, which has created a lot of stress in a lot of areas. And I was lucky enough to have a partner who introduced me to rest, and it's 2 R's, EST. And it's an acronym. It stands for Rapid Reprogramming of Emotional Stress Technique. And this was developed by neuroscientist Dr. Cindy Scholes a couple decades ago. And she had been utilizing it. And it wasn't until the last couple of years where she and a couple others realized that, we need to teach this to the world. And I had been a client at first of rest. I was looking for some direction in my life. My kids, I'm an empty nester. My kids, were going off and living their own lives. And I was sort of feeling, well, what do I want to do now? I mean, I own brick and mortar businesses. I own a wellness business. And there was just something that was missing. And rest helped me not only find for myself purpose and direction, but in the process, obviously, I became very passionate about it, wanting to give this tool to others so that they could improve their lives, whether it be a physical situation, whether it be a emotional situation, a relationship, or whatnot. So that is kind of where things started.
Okay, and so a neuroscience is the one who actually created this. And I know that there is a lot of science to emotional well-being that is really just now coming out into the forefront, because we've sort of packed it away for so long, and we've brushed off emotional things, we've brushed off mental health, and we've tried to fit everything into that physical category. And people are really learning that there are techniques, there are systems out there that work well for many people. Not everything works for everyone. Just like if I eat something, it's going to affect me differently than it's going to affect you, because we have different bodies, we have different backgrounds and everything. And you're also a Reiki practitioner. And so, I think people have maybe heard of Reiki, maybe they haven't. And so as you're explaining how rest works, can you describe the difference in those two things? because I've had both of them. I've personally had the experience, but I'd love to hear you explain what it actually is. What is it pinpointing and what is it supposed to release?
Sure, sure. Well, and I'll tell you, it's kind of like describing chocolate. And think about if you had to describe chocolate to someone that's never experienced chocolate in your life, what would you say?
That would be really hard. It's like velvet on the tongue.
Yeah, and yeah, what does that mean to someone that hasn't had it
I
before?
know.
So yeah, it's very interesting. So I kind of describe rest as this based in neuroscience with a little bit of Reiki and a sprinkle of magic. And really, it's something where clients come to it. Perhaps they've had a whole lot of therapy, maybe they've had none, and they're just curious, but to come with an open mind and really a curiosity, because this has to do with what's going on in our subconscious mind. And while you can come into it and it is effective, for most, and for some, maybe not. And for some, it just takes some time. It's very interesting to see the layers that are involved in what's going on in all of our lives, and I included. That it is not talk therapy. And that's really
Right.
the dynamite in this process. This is not reliving experiences, which can be positive and negative, depending on where you are. It can be used again to clarify or to focus, to repair relationships. We're hearing about outcomes more and more now about physical symptoms being changed as well. And the really interesting thing, as far as I'm concerned, is the body's not going to allow something to release unless it's ready to release it. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Inside Out.
Mm. I love that movie.
I love that movie too. And it honestly, if you folks that are watching this have seen that movie, it is very true in a lot of ways to neuroscience and the way that our body processes things and where our long-term memories go and where our subconscious is and how it just is locked away and hidden down there unless something triggers it. And that's where rest comes in. It's a pattern disruptor. You know how people sometimes say, whatever it is, push my button. I
Right.
mean, we all have our buttons that get pushed, right? And so rest doesn't change that environment or the people that are involved. It still happens, but rest removes the button. And so it soothes that emotional reaction to what's happened. And, I'll give you an example. I mean, let's just say we don't think about what things are, right? We don't think about things on a daily basis. So what's this?
Cell phone?
Did you have to think about what it was before you even answered?
No.
Did it kind of go in your mind before I even asked you that of, okay, there's
Right.
a cell phone there, right?
Right.
That's the way our body works. We've learned these patterns all through life for all different, it could be a smell. It could be just something that someone says to you that triggers you. It could be walking into a dirty kitchen. It could be something a coworker does that just is repeated and repeated and just aggravates you and aggravates you. And so that builds. And what rest does for the client is it goes into where that first issue was, not way up here where it happened when you were 15 or 25 or whatever, but it goes back in time. And that's where the Reiki comes in. You had asked about what's the difference.
Mhm.
Rest utilizes Reiki as part of that practice. There are a lot of tools that come into play in a rest session. And so it allows us to get into places that perhaps in a conscious form of therapy isn't possible. And so
Right.
we're able to get to that root cause, soothe it, not remove it, because you're still going to have emotions. We don't want to get rid of emotions.
Right.
We just want to get rid of perhaps the negative reaction that happens. And maybe it's just simply, and it could be something from a trigger from a relative, particularly around holidays or birthdays or whenever you get together, maybe a neighbor. And it's really interesting because we have some folks who, in a lot of those cases, they don't realize themselves the change that perhaps has occurred in them because of the subtleties of it, but their spouse, their partner, their coworker are the ones that end up going, you reacted differently to that. What's going on?
Right, right.
You
So
didn't do what you normally do.
right, exactly.
And to be more engaging, to be more productive, to be more loving, to be able to stay in a family situation where perhaps prior that would just blow up the get together and people would leave or whatever. And so
Right.
that's where I get passionate about rest, are those tweaks that it makes in people's lives that just allow them, whether it's that family situation or that focus, to get beyond, what is that thing I keep stumbling on? I get to this point and then I can't go any further. And
Right.
so to get over those humps and then to get on with life and joy.
Well, I know, like whenever you're talking about Reiki coming into it, I know that when we were going through my sessions, that because everything is energy, and this is something that is really challenging for a lot of people to understand, is that literally every single thing is energy. And so it doesn't matter if you're in the same room with someone or you are thousands of miles apart, that energy can be a connecting point. And so you're able to connect with people. And I have had a Zoom conversation in the Happy Cells and Souls lineup with a Reiki practitioner. I've had one with an EFT practitioner, which is emotional freedom technique or tapping. And, everything is revolving around what's trapped in our bodies that we don't know is trapped in there. Like you said, I am like a super onion with a whole lot of layers. And so probably we could do a session every day for the rest of my life, and we'd never get to the bottom, right? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? We'll never know. But I think that what's really interesting is that you're able to feel that energy from the person that you're working with. And can you explain that? Like whenever when you and I were talking in our session, like you would have a, like you would have a verbal confirmation of something, and I wasn't even saying anything. And so can you tell us what that feels like when there's been kind of a hit, a positive something with a client?
Sure. Yeah, they're actually, I mean, you're right. I mean, there is an energy, there is an aura. There are people that can feel, people's, colors and all those kind of things. But this is more basic than that. I mean, when somebody walks in a room, sometimes either they're very powerful and exciting and, oh yeah, everybody wants to be around them, or somebody can walk in a room and it'll just bring that room right down.
Or a parent or a sibling can have a real knowing that something's going on with a child or a twin or a spouse or whatever, and you might be in completely different parts of the world, but something has happened, and so to reach out. So yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And it's no different than if you take your hands and you just rub really hard, keep rubbing, and how they start to feel warm, and they just start to feel warm, and just keep rubbing. Okay, then stop. What do they feel?
Yeah, you got that tingly thing.
You have that tingly thing.
Yeah.
That's that energy.
And if you hold them like this, then it's even more tingly because it's like zapping the hand in between. Yeah.
And that's that energy. So that's what's accessible. And you brought up a very good point, because rest is remote. It is now gone almost completely remote in terms of having, virtual sessions with people wherever they are in the world, whenever they need it. And that's, again, one of the beauties of it is it's not taking time to get there. It's let's get on, do the session, and get through whatever this particular issue is right at this particular moment.
Right.
And what what we do and where Reiki comes into the rest process is connecting with that energy of the client, is connecting with you energetically, having your permission to do that in the first place, and then going through the Reiki process in order to make that connection so that we can then tell as a coach when there is a stress in in the process. And
Well,
as you know,
is it like a pull? Is it like a physical pull within you, or what does that feel like?
well, it is actually a muscle test of sorts. And there are a number of different ways to go about it. But it is a test that in one case, um, as I'm testing, whether you're talking or whether I'm, as you know, as we go through the steps and we get into the emotions and, where did this originally happen, etc. I'm testing the whole time for your body's reaction to what's happening. And that's why it's so much. It's not about the steps I do, it's a step-by-step process. But the energy and the difference comes in the client in terms of, again, what are they willing, because the body's not going to let go of something it's not ready for. And there is a difference of when someone is feeling not stressed and someone is feeling stressed. And so I can tell that difference between the two.
Right.
And that's really what the process works off of, is measuring that difference throughout all these different points of the process of where are you feeling stress, where aren't you feeling stress.
Right. So
and then getting to the point where we can smooth that original stress, the emotions that were involved in it. And it's always very interesting of how the emotions that may come up are relatable to whatever the current day situation is. And it almost tweaks the perception about how you look at that situation, which is when you then know, when that happens again, I'm not going to react in the same way because this feels different to me now.
Right.
I have a slightly different perspective on the matter. Therefore, I have some release from it.
Right. And then I know that you said we have 3 minutes left, Amy.
Oh.
It goes by so quickly.
It does go by so fast.
So I know that, it's a long process to become a rest practitioner, but you are, and you don't have any kind of financial ties to if someone wants to go and get licensed or certified or whatever as a coach. But you are out there telling people to go do that, to go get, their practitioner coaching degree in rest so they can help more people, because it's a need that we have to fill. And so I'm not one of those people that's going to go get my coaching license for this, but I are not licensed, but
certification.
But I'm glad that there are people like you that will have that. So if somebody were to, really want to either schedule a time with you or with another practitioner, tell us how they would do that. And if they want to become a rest coach, what would they need to do?
Sure. Yes, there are the capability. We have everyone from, physical trainers, therapists, nurses, and chiropractors, others that are just kind of in the wellness industry that are finding out about rest and becoming certified in rest. It does include Reiki training as well, whether you're already a Reiki master or not. It's a little bit of a different look at it. And so if they want to get in touch with me, I think I've given you my Acuity link in terms of scheduling, whether someone wants a free 15-20 minute clarity session just to kind of figure out, is this a good fit for me?
In the text, I'll put that in the description so that people can do that.
And then of course, also on Instagram, amy.steinmetz, LinkedIn and Facebook, Amy K, middle initial Steinmetz. You can always reach out to me in any of those locations.
Great.
Oh, and I did want to mention, if you do want to find out more, we are having a monthly Rethinking Mental Wellness with Rest as a private Facebook group, and anyone can join that. So by all means, check out, that private Facebook group and join it, because not only do you get the information, but you can scroll through and see some testimonials from current and past clients and coaches as well. But it's Rethinking Mental Wellness with Rest.
That's a good thing to let people know about, because in today's world, we need more tools for mental illness and, to get people back to their healthy, normal selves, without using way too many prescription medications. I mean, there's a place for drugs. There is. They serve a purpose. But if we can do things without medication and get to the heart of the matter and make people feel better, what a great thing to be able to do. And thank you for everything that you're doing for all the people's lives that you're touching and changing and, just making a better world. Do you have one last statement that you want to give to the world of all 10 people who happen to be watching this?
Well, Julie, I want to thank you very much for helping us get the word out about rest. It certainly is a joy, and just know our brains work on different levels, and what we want to do is get from working not that fight or flight level, but getting into brain 3.0, which is kind of the wise integrated brain, and that's what rest helps you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Amy.